Hi everyone. So it's been a little bit longer than I intended between updates. It's been 3 weeks. I did actually record an update last Thursday. It's Thursday today. I did actually record one last week, but just for whatever reason, I never managed to get it up. So I'm going to keep this as quick as I can and just do like a quick update on what has been going on for the last 3 weeks. So I am 17 weeks in a few days now, and things are going pretty well. I had a prenatal appointment 2 days ago on Tuesday, and everything was good. The prenatal appointments in a third pregnancy are really pretty boring. And honestly, even the prenatal appointments in my first pregnancy were pretty boring. That was just not where I tended to ask a ton of questions. I guess I did ask more in the first pregnancy because I didn't quite know what to expect or what was okay and routine at that hospital or, all that stuff. But with my second pregnancy and with this pregnancy, it's I feel like I have a good handle on pregnancy and birth and all of that. And I mean, we certainly have time left between now and the actual birth, so I'm sure that there will be some questions and stuff that will come up towards the end, especially since this time we are planning for a home birth for the first time. So I'm sure that there will be more to talk about as we get closer towards the end, but for right now, there's just not a lot that I have questions about. So anyway, so it was a quick appointment. I had the appointment with the third midwife of the three who are in the practice, and that was good. She listened to the heartbeat with the Doppler, and that was good. It took her a minute to find it, and I find that this time around, there's a lot more anxiety around everything, but especially those moments that, I mean, it really wasn't that long that it took to find it, but it's still, there's that anxiety of oh my gosh, is there something wrong? And then she found it, and it was very strong and good. It was just lower than where she had been looking initially. So it was around 160-ish, 155 to 160 or something like that, which is about what all of my kids have been. So, yeah, so it seems consistent with them. And yeah, so that was the appointment. We have not yet scheduled, but we will be scheduling the anatomy scan for probably, so I'm 17 weeks now, so for probably in 2 or 3 weeks. I'm not going back to where I had my previous ultrasound done, where I had a bad experience having the NT scan, and during my miscarriage I had a bad experience there. So we're going someplace else. It's a private ultrasound place that does pregnancy ultrasounds and all kinds of other stuff. So the order was put in, they did call me. I have to call them back to schedule it. So that should be happening in a couple of weeks, which is kind of crazy to think that we're already at that point in the pregnancy, and almost at the halfway point. So that's all good and exciting, and yeah, everything looks good. My uterus is where it should be. It's a couple finger widths below my belly button, I guess. It feels, so I don't feel big. I don't feel like my belly is big yet. I do, I feel like I'm showing, and some people probably the people who are paying most attention have noticed that I am showing a bit. But it, my uterus itself does not feel particularly pronounced. I can definitely feel where it is, but it's just interesting that I feel like, having been through pregnancy before, most of my memories are from towards the end of pregnancy, when you're super big and the baby's moving around a ton, and your whole belly is uterus basically. So it's harder to remember earlier on. I am definitely feeling some movement, but I feel like I have a tendency to like brush it off and not necessarily acknowledge all of the feelings that are movement as movement of the baby. It's easy for me to be like, oh, that was probably just whatever. So I think I feel like I'm probably feeling movement multiple times a day, but it's just hard to pinpoint it and really notice and be able to say like, yes, that was definitely movement. I'm wondering a little bit if my placenta is kind of in the front, because I don't know. I feel like I should be feeling more pronounced movement by this point, but maybe not. I don't really know. I did not learn anything about my placenta when I had the NT scan at 13 weeks. Yeah, something somewhere around there. But I will certainly find out if it is anterior or in a funky place. I'll find that out at the anatomy scan. And as far as symptoms go, I'm starting to feel a bit better as far as the nausea goes. I don't feel like I'm nauseous per se, but I definitely feel like kind of gross and just off, and like food is not really very appealing, and it's hard, especially if I wait too long to eat. It's really hard to find something that sounds at all appealing. So I'm hoping that gets better in the next couple of weeks. I am still taking Unisom. I can't remember. I must have been taking it when I recorded my last video. So I am still taking it, but I'm only taking half of a tablet at night instead of a whole one, and that seems to be a good balance between, like for me, taking a whole one, I end up feeling like groggy and hungover the next morning, and it's kind of hard to come out of that fog. Whereas with a half, I don't have that quite so much. My rabbit is right down here. I don't have that quite so much, but it still is enough to help. And I haven't yet tried to stop it because I'm just a little nervous to do that. With my second pregnancy, I was on Unisom until 20 weeks when I was finally able to stop. I tried stopping a few weeks before that, and it was not a good idea. So I'm kind of nervous to try to stop it, but I will probably experiment with that next week at some point to see if I can manage without it. I am still pretty tired, but not quite so, it doesn't feel quite so hard to like manage it. So I'm definitely still tired when I wake up in the morning. I don't feel like I sleep particularly well, but I'm able to kind of push through that, and I am drinking a cup of coffee in the morning now, so that definitely helps. But I just realized that I have to like block off different areas of the room to prevent my rabbit from getting into the couches. And I just realized I did not block off one of her little entryways. Anyway, what was I talking about? Being tired, I think. Honestly, I don't remember what I was talking about. Anyway, it was probably nothing important. But yeah. Oh, I'm drinking a cup of coffee in the morning. I think that's what I was saying. I am drinking a cup of coffee in the morning, and that definitely helps to get through that kind of morning tiredness. And then I definitely am like dragging by mid to late afternoon, but I'm able to push through that and get through the rest of the day and stay up probably later than I should, but it's hard to get myself to go to bed when it's like quiet and calm and I have a little time to myself. So anyway, that is pretty much the update of what has been going on. There really isn't too much exciting to report, but that's a good thing. And so it's been very interesting going through this pregnancy after having gone through the loss over the summer. that I feel like I'm so much more kind of on edge, and like in the back of my mind there's always the question of like, well, what if there's something wrong, even if it doesn't seem like anything's wrong, like what if there is something wrong and we just haven't found out yet or whatever. So there is kind of a high level of anxiety in general, and I feel like I'm not able to relax and kind of enjoy the pregnancy as much as I did with my previous pregnancies. And one of the things that I did do to kind of help to ease my anxiety a little bit is I did end up buying a Doppler. Someone was selling, like you can often find people selling them on yard sale sites or Facebook Marketplace or whatever. So I bought one from someone, and I've only used it a couple of times, but it does help to kind of ease my fears and anxiety a little bit. And I think it's worth it to just have it on hand for those days when I'm just having kind of a harder time knowing that things are okay. And obviously that only shows that the heartbeat is still good. Like there still could be other things wrong, but at least that's a little bit of reassurance on those more stressful days. So that is not something that I would have necessarily chosen to do in previous pregnancies, but yeah, I kind of decided you have to balance and weigh the pros and cons, and it's important to have peace of mind, and you know, having high anxiety is not really good for anyone. So I feel good about that, and it's been helpful. So that is it for 17 weeks. I honestly don't know how often I'll be doing updates, but at the very least I will do an update after I have the anatomy scan done, and I will share whatever pictures I have from that. And at that point I will probably share the gender of the baby. So that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.